So the Raiders signed Prince Amukamara. This was a little bit ago now, but I've been busy with some other stuff, specifically my Kyle Shanahan story series that I've been working very hard on. But anyways, I think this is actually a very interesting move. The Amukamara, which I believe is how you pronounce it, going to Las Vegas. I think this is the smart move. I think that going after some of these guys who maybe have been in a great defense and kind of haven't been able to totally show their worth because they've been in a great defense, which is what Amukamara has been in the past couple seasons, this makes a lot of sense to me. Obviously, he's been in the league for a while now, but he for the most part, recently has been playing on pretty good defenses. He's played for Chicago the last 3 years, played for Jacksonville the year before that. So recently, he definitely has. And he's also sort of been getting better with age up until last year, where he kind of had a bit of a drop off, especially statistically, where in 2018 his passer rating against was 81.9, but last year it went up to 102.3. So what went wrong? Well, it was a lot of things like this. It was oftentimes just sort of him less so of making mistakes and more so just being too cautious. So not really physical, more mental. And part of me wonders how much of it was coaching. Like on this play, it's a cover 3 zone, and so there's a route that's going to be cutting below his zone. So he's number 20, and he's in charge of covering the zone that's on the bottom left-hand corner of the screen. That's what he's in charge of covering. And after the ball is snapped, notice kind of how much space he's going to give that Detroit player. You have to give him some space. At the end of the day, your job is to make sure you keep everything in front of you and make sure you keep everything to the inside of the field of you. So, he is doing both of those things, but there's just a bit too much separation right here. So this is going to be pretty easy for David Blau to be able to find him and make this throw. And part of this, too, is that, he's just a guy who he's going to be getting targeted a lot in that Bears defense because it is such a loaded defense. So that's also a factor for sure. But I also think that he was definitely at times a bit too cautious, and it really did come back to bite him. And one thing, too, I noticed that I looked at his individual game stats of, his passer rating for each game. And it's very interesting how many times that he was good, but then he would just have a couple that were just, very bad. He had a stretch for a while where his passer rating wasn't above. It was a 7-game stretch where his passer rating never got above 90 passer rating against, and then it went up to 149.3 in the Thanksgiving game. And listen, I'm just using that as a sort of a baseline because there is no perfect stat, but that's just what I'm using. And one of the real reasons that it was so bad in that game was because of one play. It was this one. It's going to be a cover 1 play, and it's a cover 1 blitz. So basically, this is actually interesting where Amukamara, of course, he's the one who's in boxed in yellow. And what's interesting about this play, I think, is that you're going to see that basically the way it works is that any of these Chicago players, if they decide that they want to pass somebody off to a safety and just stay where they're at and they basically become the safety, they can do that. That's what they're supposed to do on this play. However, after the ball is snapped, if you notice, multiple Bears, one of them being Amukamara, are passing off their Detroit Lion receiver to the safety who is deep. And really for Amukamara, this is just a mistake. It's another mental mistake where he should know at this point that he should not be passing off the receiver he's covering to a safety. He has to stay with him. And the fact that he is trying to pass him off is definitely a mistake. And the reason for this is because you have to know, A, you're furthest away from the safeties. So you're pretty much only going to do that if you're getting burned badly, which he isn't. And B, if you are going to do it, you probably do have to look over because you are so far away. And he's just too far away at this point. So this is just a bad mental mistake. And you see how he does that. He gets fooled. He also just thought that line was cutting over the middle. So that also factored in. But he just gets completely fooled on that play. And that results in an easy touchdown for Detroit. And just a mistake. And again, just a mental thing. It's not physical, but sometimes getting outsmarted is the trick. And I do think part of it was schematically as well. I think that they were trying to make sure that, for Amukamara, we don't want you to be giving up 75-yard touchdowns. We want you to be giving up 7-yard plays. And so something like this, it's a cover 4 zone, and Washington has a receiver running a quick curl route. Amukamara is right there, so you would think, okay, he should crash in and try to make a play on this ball. But at the same time, for Chicago, they're kind of thinking, hey, if we give up a 7-yard gain, that's not the end of the world. What we don't want to have happen is that he makes a double move, Amukamara crashes in, and then he runs deep, gets over the top, and gets a touchdown. So you know what? Amukamara you can give up those smaller plays. Just don't give up anything deep. And that's what's going to happen here. There's going to be a quick pass right there. And so, again, statistically and even eye test wise, you could look at that and be like, well, that's not a very good play. But at the same time, I think that you could look at that play as well and be like, okay, well, that's just a strategic decision by the coach. Agree with it or disagree, but that's clearly what they're doing. So, there are some negatives. I do think that the mental mistakes is the problem, especially, this guy is 30. He actually turns 31 in 2 days. He turns 31 on June 6th, so happy birthday to him. But, you would like to see a veteran sort of not have those mental mistakes. But at the same time, you're not going out and giving him some huge contract either. So, it's not the end of the world if you go out if he's not the perfect player. I mean, it's a 1 year, $1 million contract. This is kind of a steal in a lot of ways because, well, he does have a problem. You're not going to get a perfect player for that kind of money. I do think that his positives definitely outweigh his negatives, and he's someone that I think can help them a lot. And again, he's not that old, and I don't feel like he's lost a step in any way. And he has great ball skills, which is the best thing about him. Like on a play like this, it's going to be a cover 2 zone. There's a receiver running, trying to get into the gap in the cover 2 zone, and that's where Amukamara is covering. It's that zone that the receiver is going to run through. He's the defensive back on the line closest to the top of the screen, right near the 50-yard marker. And after the ball is snapped, you are going to notice that he does a pretty good job of hanging with that receiver. He tries to pass him off, but once he realizes that the safety is not in that direction, he does a pretty good job of recovering and running over and getting in that area. So, again, a few things to unpack there. First, he did a pretty good job of staying back. He tried to pass him off to the safety, but since there's multiple Redskins running deep, he realized that and ran over there. Now, because Keenum did a pretty good job of realizing what was going on himself, rolling outside the pocket, he's given him more time, so now there is some separation. This separation isn't Amukamara's fault really at all. I mean, he's actually done a pretty great job already, but, listen, this is football. Sometimes, even though you do a good job, just because of a quarterback being able to roll outside the pocket, now they still have an opportunity to find a window to make a throw. However, Amukamara is also going to be able to come back and make a play on that ball and knock it away. I mean, that's a highlight reel level play if I've ever seen one. Well, really, for a defensive back, a highlight reel level play has to be one where the highlight part comes at the very end because that's all the TV shows. But, from start to finish, this is a really good play from him. And this is something that, let's be honest, Oakland didn't have defensive backs making plays like this last season really at all. This play was another play I liked from him where it's going to be a one-on-one matchup right here. His receiver that he's going up against is running a curl route, so that's the situation right now. And watch what he's going to do, and watch how we just create some contact right at the line. And at this point, there's just no separation. And again, he does such a good job of stopping too. He's basically completely facing the wrong direction, but at the same time, if you look at his left foot and how he's planted it down right there, he definitely is in position where there's not really too much separation whatsoever. This is pretty well timed by David Blau trying to get it there, and this is not a terrible route either, but Amukamara is still able to come back and knock the ball away. Again, maybe if that's Brett Favre, the ball gets there a little bit quicker, but regardless, still a really good play by Amukamara, and I don't think even with Brett Favre, I think he's still getting there and knocking the ball away. I think that's just a really tremendous play once again, and his ball skills are definitely something that's very good. If he's in the area, he's probably knocking the ball away, and that's not the case with a lot of defensive backs. One other thing I think is definitely key is that they're clearly trying to make sure to have good tackling corners. That's important to the Raiders, and you can tell that by the way they went out and got Damon Arnett, who, I think a lot of people didn't have him valued as high as they did because they weren't really taking his tackling ability into account, but clearly the Raiders, they really like that, and also I really like Arnett. I think that that's a pick that people might look back on and be like, that was actually a really good pick, even though we didn't like it at the time. Because I do think that he's really good. Again, maybe he shouldn't have gone that high, but who cares? If you get a good player, you get a good player. And Amukamara can definitely tackle. Like on this play, what's going to happen is that it's a little screen pass. The halfback starts off blocking an edge rusher, but then he runs out to the flat. And then a tackle is going to move up to try to block Amukamara. That's the way this play is going to work. But watch how good of a job Amukamara does at reading this play, running over, and he's going to dive over but find a way to make that tackle. Really a good play by him. A good read, for one thing. So, listen, I said he had some mental mistakes. He's not a dumb guy by any means. He just will occasionally make the mental mistake. And as a defensive back, you'd almost rather have the guy who just always being okay in terms of football IQ than someone who will make really good plays and really bad plays, because one dumb mistake hurts you a lot more than one good read does. But this was a good read, and it showed right there. And I think that he could definitely help out some of these younger players. The Raiders, they have a lot of young guys on their roster. Maybe he could help out Arnett and sort of show him the ropes to some degree. I think it helps to have a veteran in the clubhouse. So there's external things you're getting as well. And also, this is such a low risk deal. It's kind of surprising nobody gave him more money. I really like this move from the Raiders. It's kind of flown under the radar, but really a good decision, I think. That's just my opinion. I'd like to know what you guys think. Let me know in the comments below. And of course, as always, thanks for watching. And also, by the way, people keep saying I need to join the dark side and become a Raiders fan. I very much like the Raiders. I've always been very public about that. They're probably my second favorite team, but I'm a Bucs fan first. Sorry, guys. But anyways, hope you guys enjoyed this video.